Hello everyone, welcome back for another book review. So today we are talking about this book. This is Spellcrafts, Creating Magical Objects by Scott Cunningham and David Harrington. So this is the 10th anniversary edition. The original came out in '93, this came out in 2003. So the premise of this book is the crafting element of witchcraft. So in it they talk about mostly how you are able to like infuse a lot of your energy into actually crafting a thing for the spell that you're wanting to do. Now in here they do have a little bit of like kind of a brief recap on if you're like not super familiar or if it's been a minute of like the basics of spells and magic, and a lot of the intentions and steps that go into doing a spell, which is nice, especially if you need a quick refresher or you're not sure exactly like the steps needed to do a spell. It kind of lays it out for you very simple, and again, it's pretty good writing. Again, I love Scott Cunningham, so I'm a little biased, but again, it's a great resource for that alone. Now, the bulk of the book is obviously about the crafts that they have you do. With this book, similar to the Magical Household that they wrote together, they were very heavily into researching different things around the world, which is really interesting. I don't know how popular it would be nowadays, to be 100% honest, but I love getting to read about different parts of the world and different cultural things and how they kind of popped up all over, but everyone kind of did similar things for a lot of stuff. And obviously some things are kind of more specific to each one, but it was interesting to get to read some little bit of history, but not too much. And of course that kind of goes into the crafts. They give you a little bit of a detailed like history of like where it came from and how it was used. In theory, we don't have a lot for some of them, but you can kind of estimate for it. So for the actual crafts, they are ranging in skill. Some of them are super easy. Making a god's eye or a witch's eye is super easy, and some of the other ones are a little more complicated. It kind of just varies on what your skill set is. Some of them, like getting actual clay, I've never worked with the actual clay, and they specifically said oven baked isn't good enough. You need to use real clay, and it's like, I'm sure I can still buy it at like a Michael's or on Amazon, but I've never worked with actual clay, it's okay. And like the logistics of that as somebody who's never worked with that, and like obviously we don't own a kiln, so like how do you do the final step of that? Don't know, they just kind of tell you how to make it, and I don't think they ever actually talked about like how to like glaze it or anything. I think you just kind of let it air dry and that's it. A lot of them were fairly simple. Again, like there was like one that came from, I think it was Chinese culture, where you have like a banner and you put a symbol on it and infuse that and do that, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then there was other ones, like there was one that is a like mosaic that you're supposed to make. And immediately I was like, oh no, that's way too complicated. And then immediately I was like, maybe that's the thing I should do though, because it is complicated. Because I've never worked with grout and buying tiles and doing that to a piece of wood. Never ever thought I would do that for witchcraft, but I love the idea of it. And that it would be like a manifesting board, basically. So I'm kind of like, I want to try it. So one of these days, I probably will. And like candle making, which definitely I think views on this particular wax have changed over the years, because they talked about how paraffin wax is like the best one to use, and I'm pretty sure nowadays it's the opposite. Like everyone says do not use this wax, use like soy instead because it's better, because paraffin is like basically just like toxic ish. There's debates, and thankfully the common one that always seems to pop up is to use beeswax, and I guess at the time that they wrote this it was really hard to come by and it's super expensive. And I'm like, I just looked it up, I don't know, a month or two ago on Amazon, and for a sheet of it, it wasn't that expensive. It was like, I think it was like $13 for a sheet of it, so maybe that's overpriced, but for me it's like, I don't know that I would say that's like, oh my god, expensive compared to other things that we buy all the time. So it's like a specialty item for sure, but like, I don't know. One of these days we'll get into candle making. I'm not there yet, but I was like, I don't think we have that high of an esteem for paraffin anymore. And of course they talk about other things like simmer pots, how that's pretty easy to do. A lot of times it was household ingredients. There's a couple that were like, I don't know if I would have this in my house, but a majority of them definitely are in a household kitchen, which was really nice. Of course, it's a little dated because again, it was written in 93 and then the 10th edition came out in 2003. And so it still is kind of like, hey, like if you can't find it locally, like you can always do like a mail order. That's not really a thing anymore. You buy it online. But yeah, so that was the only part that always kind of makes me chuckle when you read older books, because it's like, times have changed. But yeah, so instead of trying to find it through mailing into some place, you can probably just find this stuff online. I know Mountain Roads Herbs is typically a good website to order from. I haven't personally bought from them, but a lot of other witches have raved about them. And usually your local pagan shops will have it. Like a natural, like herbal kind of store will usually have them too. I'm pretty excited to get to try some of these things because they are a little different than what you typically see, because it does definitely vary the options. It is not cut and paste for each thing and just like changes, you know? Some books tend to do that. They get into like this routine of like, say this, do this, 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 and this, and then you're like, oh my god, it's the same thing all over and over and over for like 300 pages. These were all definitely very unique, so I loved that. And they vary in how complicated they need to be and how easy. So if you are interested in trying out some different crafts in your practice, definitely pick up a copy of this book. So that is going to be it for this book review. I would love to hear your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. Do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day. Thank you, of course, to my patron. I will have their name here because I am not going to try and butcher names, so we're just setting a standard now. And until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.